Hi everyone, it's Holly and I am the maker here at Missouri River Soap. Today we're going to learn how to make some super cute, adorable little ghost wax melts. So a wax melt is just a little shaped piece of wax that has fragrance within it. It is a wax specific for this purpose, and then you add it to a wax melter / wax warmer. It melts and you enjoy the scent that it releases into your home. So it's like a flame-free candle scenario. So I have a whole little army here behind me, and I have a whole army on the shelf in front of me, but I have just a little bit more left to make for my Halloween release, so I thought maybe you would like to come along and learn how to make them too. So let's reposition. I'm going to take you over to my wax melting station. Okay, so here is my wax melt station. And I have this handy dandy wax melter here. These are very convenient for businesses to be able to melt a bunch and pour a bunch at once. I've got my scale, a little measuring cup for my fragrance. Of course, we need a pour pitcher, but I'm actually not going to use the pour pitcher. That's what I'm just going to stir everything in. I have a funnel contraption, which I love. I think it's like a pancake dispenser for a commercial kitchen. I love it. We need a temperature gun and we have a heat gun, all very handy to have around. Now, it is important to wear gloves because we don't want not only the wax on our hands, but we're working with fragrances. And I will be using a mask when I am stirring up and pouring the wax because I do not want to breathe in that. It's an extreme amount of fragrance that kind of blooms out as you mix it in, and I just don't want to breathe that in. I have my windows closed for the moment because my husband and son are building, but I normally have all the windows open. Even if it's 2 degrees outside, these windows are going to be open. So I'm going to be doing 54 ounces of wax. I am using a Supreme Parasoy, and I get that at Makesy. It is paraben free, phthalate free, carcinogen free, mutagen free, toxin free, gluten free. It's vegan, so it's really a good wax, and that's important to me because, again, I don't want to be breathing this in all day long because I will pour wax all day. The fragrances I'm using today are Dark Cauldron and Blood Orange. This is a very earthy, patchouli, woodsy, a little cinnamony fragrance, and the Blood Orange is a mixture of like strawberry, greenery, rose petals. Oh, it's so good. So I'm going to put these two together today. I am going to go ahead and measure out my fragrances. I do 10%, so I need 5.4 ounces. I'm going to do, I think, 2.4 of this one. And a color and vanillin don't matter as much with the wax. It will discolor soap, but it does not really discolor wax. And then the Blood Orange, I'm going to add 3 ounces to bring it up to 5.4, which I realize this container does not hardly hold that, so we're really going to be pushing it. We made it. I usually measure directly into the container. All right, so I cannot put this pitcher under here, pouring pot, and still manage this. So I'm going to tear out the scale, and then I will put it down here. And I have cleaned up my process because it's going to get very splattery here. And I will need to fill this almost all the way up. I have plans to get a different. Now I went way over, but you know what? I'm going to go with it. I was thinking about doing that anyway, and the fragrance and everything is still going to be fine because I'm not over by much. This is a very strong fragrance. Now this is, let's see what the temperature is. We're at 197, which is pretty hot. I'm probably not going to add in my fragrance quite yet. Sometimes these pitchers will cool down the wax really quickly. So I'm going to reset my temperature down. I don't need it that hot. So this wax can be, and can you see the mess? This is why I cover my stainless steel. I do not like cleaning my stainless steel from the wax. That's not a lot of fun. This is the same one that exploded wax not too long ago, and I was literally all over this place with my little heat gun trying to melt it. But it has acted quite nicely since then. The pour temperature for this wax is between 160 degrees and 200 degrees. I like to mix in my fragrance a little bit cooler, like 185 or so, and then pour it around the 165 or 170. Now I know a lot of people are concerned about flash point. The data on that nowadays is that the flash point concerns more for shipping than for the temperature that you added to the wax. I'm not using any color on this batch, but I have some Eco liquid candle dyes from Hive and Honey, and Makesy also has Scarlet. Well, Scarlet doesn't matter, but Makesy also has these Eco dyes that I use as well. I try my best to have very clean wax melts, and I can do that by my colorants, my wax, etc. The problem is that not all fragrances are clean to the level of Hive and Honey, and there are a lot of fragrances that we love. The fragrances I use are still phthalate free and paraben free, and are Proposition 65 compliant, so that's still really important. But many of the makers are going even further and going with these clean fragrances, and so as they make that transition, so am I. So I'm going to put on my mask now and add in the fragrance. I'm going to stir for 2 minutes. In general, it's best to hit the record button before you start. So I've already poured my wax into this funnel dispenser thing. We have these adorable ghost molds, and the silicone is just natural for them to get that film. But I was saying that these are a little persnickety. They kind of sit funny, so I have to be really careful. I've taken the mask off just because, as you know, it has already done the bloom. It's been sitting for a couple of minutes, and it's not that big of a deal with all the cleanness that I have used in my supplies today. But normally I do keep my mask on through the entirety of my wax melt pouring. It does smell very good. It's very citrusy, and I love that. I love it. This dispenser was from Webstaurant store, I think, at the time. And I just would not be able to make wax melts without it. It's so convenient. I do not pour well. If you do use a pouring pitcher, one thing you can do is kind of bend the front. You can kind of see the difference here between, this is the one that just holds my my pour dispenser thing, but this one doesn't have, yeah, it's colorful, but it gets a little messy down in there. And then this one, you can see we've bent it down. The other thing you can do is put like a paper towel here and then put a rubber band around it, and that will catch the drips, and that's helpful. Let's just refill this before we get going. I do use a heat gun to heat up this dispenser. Otherwise, if it's really cold in this space, have to be careful here. If it's really cold in this space, it'll solidify in this very quickly and you won't be able to even pour out the bottom because it'll clog it up. So cleanup is kind of the same thing. I just use my heat gun. I scrape out as much as I can get out of it. And then I use my heat gun just to melt the rest of it, and then I wipe it out with a paper towel. And then the paper towels can be used to start, you know, like a little outdoor fire, an on purpose, not a wildfire or anything. That'd be silly, but you know, if you're having a little campfire, sometimes it's nice. Now, if you're going to cook food over it, I probably wouldn't do that, but if you're just having yourself, whoa, wah, wah. It happens. So yeah, it just takes a little while, but it's an easy process. And then we're going to let these sit for quite a while, several hours, to really solidify before I unmold them. Usually I come back the next day, but I'll probably come back today and unmold these. And then they will need to cure for a week. They need to be able to sit and do whatever they do so that they will have the best fragrance potential for your enjoyment. So I am just unmolding my little ghost army here. They turned out just so very cute. I love this mold. This mold is from Amazon, and I will leave a link for you down below. If you missed anything, check out the description box because I will have more details there. The wax melter that I'm using is no longer available, but most of the suppliers that sell wax and fragrances and such for wax melting candles, they'll usually have a melter of some sort. I always used to use a Presto pot that my husband had outfitted with a spigot. That was really nice. That worked really well. So I will be putting these on the tray on my curing rack to sit and cure until I have a little bit of time to start packaging them, and then they can cure in their packaging. I will be packaging these 4 to a set in a little craft box. I found that that's just going to be the best one. It's the best shape for it because the polypropylene bags, I don't know, it's kind of an awkward shape. It really is an awkward shape, but so incredibly cute. I just break off if I over pour it a little bit. So if you stick around to the end, I will be adding in a little clip of the wax melting in a wax warmer. Whether you're using the industrial to make it, it's called a wax melter, or if you have just a little hot plate contraption specifically for wax melt, that's called a wax melter as well. So I will add a clip here at the end of the video showing how these melt down. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. This has been a little different video than I normally do. I've been pouring wax all day. I usually fill every countertop, and so it's not the easiest product for me to film, but I thought it would be fun for you to see these little ghosts. So I have one more mold that I'm going to break free the ghosts from. Stick around for that melting clip at the end, and I will catch you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.